calling our meeting to order, February the 28th. This time we'll have the opening prayer, Pastor Nathan of Temple Baptist Church, followed by the pledge.
Thank you. Will you pray with me? Heavenly Father, God, we just come before you on this time, God, asking for your wisdom, asking for your knowledge, God, as we just do this business of Lynn Haven, God. I just pray over this whole community that we can just continue to strive and go forward and to be beneficial to you, Father. We just pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time we'll have public commentary. Remember to direct your comments to the chair and give your name and address for the record. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, and first I'll thank you all for your service to our community. My name is Debbie Ashbrook. I live at 2517 Country Club Drive in Lynn Haven, and I'm here representing the Country Club Harbor Community Association of Community Association Neighborhood as their president. There is a letter being distributed to all of you. It was emailed to you prior to this meeting, and I'd like to read it for everyone's listening pleasure. This is in support of the Lynn Haven Police Department and its leadership. So, the Board of Directors of the Country Club Harbor Community Association is greatly concerned regarding the recent news stories published about the potential future status of the Lynn Haven Police Department. As residents of the city of Lynn Haven and the elected board of over 300 homeowners in our community, we are compelled to make our position known to the Lynn Haven elected city officials. As a board and community, we greatly appreciate the support and commitment provided to our residents by the Lynn Haven Police Department, its officers, and the leadership of this department. They have gone above and beyond to keep our community safe and implemented proactive law enforcement strategies. As an HOA, we actively partner with the Lynn Haven Police Department on several occasions to support crime-fighting efforts. This is most recently evident by our Homeowners Association purchase of multiple flock cameras, which provide access for alerts to both the Lynn Haven Police Department and the Bay County Sheriff Office. When Chief Rainey spoke at our Homeowners Association meeting last month, he shared that since the installation of these cameras within our community, 2 wanton felons had entered our neighborhood and were able to be apprehended. The information was well received by our association and demonstrated our commitment to helping local law enforcement maintain a safe community. Like many in Bay County, we too have great respect and admiration for the work and professionalism of the Bay County Sheriff's Office. They work tirelessly to make our community safe and have excellent leadership. We also believe over the years our city has invested significant resources in the development of an efficient and effective local police department, and that if this band could be reconstructed without erroneous and disproportionate expenses by the city and its taxpayers. Public safety is one of the most important issues for many of our residents. For that reason, we, the board of the Country Club Harbor Community Association, desire to make it explicitly clear that we value and support the work of the Lynn Haven Police Department and recognize the value it brings to our community. It is our hope that our current and future elected officials will share our sentiments and support the presence and work of the Lynn Haven Police Department. I thank you for listening.
Thank you. Additional public commentary?
Jody Moore on Amherst Street. I'm really unaware of anybody wanting to do away with the Lynn Haven Police Department, so I don't know where that comes from. So as we all know, the former Lynn Haven Mayor, Margaret Anderson, pled guilty to lying to the FBI. She said she had met Mickey White in December or January, but agreed with the FBI she had actually met him in October. In exchange for that plea, all the other 64 charges were dropped. She faces up to 5 years in prison. I just want to point out that City Manager Vicki Gaynor lied at least twice to the FBI.
I'm sorry, we're not discussing that during this time.
I have the floor and I have the right
I'm
to
sorry.
speak. This is somebody
We're not
who is the
discussing that during
city
this time.
manager.
No, we're
She
not doing
lied
that today.
about
Call
Big
to
Judy
order.
Tender's voting record regarding James Finch.
We're not doing that
And she
today.
also lied that Christy, Jerry, and I were very good friends of Margot Anderson and Judy Tender. So you're limiting my freedom of speech here.
I am, yes, we're not doing that
So I'm
today.
not allowed to speak about the city manager.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
That's not in regards,
That's my false accusation.
that is not in regards to her work here. Thank you. As I've mentioned before, what has happened in Tallahassee is in Tallahassee. If you have comments concerning what is happening with the current business in the city of Lynn Haven, please address those issues. But what has happened in Tallahassee is Tallahassee. We're not focusing on what the judge decided to do or not to do. As I've said many times, I don't want that cloud over us. It's not for me to say should someone be guilty or not be guilty or to pass judgment on anyone. We want to keep moving forward together. That has been my objective since I've been mayor of the city of Lynn Haven, is for us to move forward together. And we cannot continue to do that if we keep rehashing the things that have happened in the past. Now we're talking about the business of the city of Lynn Haven. If you got an issue with stormwater, please come up, tell us about that. If you have an issue with roads, please come up, tell us about that. If you have an issue with how we're currently doing things in the city of Lynn Haven, please come up and tell us about that. But we will not be receiving comments regarding the court case in Tallahassee. Thank you. Additional public commentary?
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners and City Manager, give me my flowers while I yet live, so that I can see the beauty they bring. Speak kind words to me while I can hear them. And I stand here today, right now, to say to the commissioners and to this audience, I thought I was a pretty good mayor when I was mayor. But this man has superseded what I did. And I just want to say thank you. I don't know if I could listen to some people and be grateful to them. And I had to do the same thing you just did at one of my meetings. But if you would just come to Mosley High School and listen to those young people and the admiration they had for him, you'd be very proud. He and I go together to those meetings, and at the last meeting we went to, the students asked questions that grown folk don't know how to ask. And I thank you for the answers that you gave them and the demeanor in which you stood the ground and listened to them. Not with hostility, because they couldn't be hostile to you because you were not hostile to them. They wanted answers, and you gave them answers. And I thank you. As an old black woman now, you're magnificent. And I want you to know that. And if nobody else thanks you for what you did and what you do for this city, and I was born and raised here, and I'm 81 years old now, and I've seen a lot. I've met a lot of people. I know a lot of people. And when you announced that you were going to run again, I was here. And every vote that I can get for you, I don't care who's out there running, you're going to get mine and some more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional public commentary. At this time, we'll move on to our proclamations. Our first proclamation is in regards to Flood Awareness Week. Whereas the city of Lynn Haven, Florida has experienced severe weather in the past in the form of extreme rainfall or tropical system events, resulting in the flooding in West Bay area of Florida. And this flooding has caused damage and flood losses to homes and buildings in all areas, whether they are in high-risk special flood hazard areas or low to moderate flood risk zones. And whereas the city of Lynn Haven is a voluntary participant in the National Flood Insurance Program that provides residents with the opportunity to protect themselves against flood loss through the purchase of flood insurance at reduced insurance premium rates, as well as setting higher regulatory standards to reduce the flood risk and potential flood damage to their property. And whereas the reduction of loss of life and property damage can be achieved when appropriate flood preparedness, control, and mitigation measures are taken before a flood. And whereas public education and awareness of potential weather hazards and methods of protection are critical to the health, safety, and welfare of residents, the Florida Floodplain Managers Association, FFMA, have declared the week of March 5, 2023 as Flood Awareness Week in the city of Lynn Haven, Florida, to promote awareness and increase knowledge of flood risk, the availability of flood insurance, flood protection methods, and how to prepare for emergencies. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Jesse Nelson, and the City Commission do hereby proclaim March 5, 2023 as Flood Awareness Week in the city of Lynn Haven, Florida, and further encourage the citizens to increase their knowledge of how to protect themselves and their property from flooding. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the city of Lynn Haven, Florida, to be affixed this 28th day of February, 2023. Thank you. Oh, okay. Oh, I need to take a picture of it.
Yes.
Now we will move on to the next proclamation, which is an additional one. If the North Bay Haven weightlifting team and participants, family, if they would all come up, please. We hear all that metal coming up. Yeah.
A lot of iron.
Sounds of a champion, right?
A lot of iron.
Yeah, awesome. Of course, we know this is not the entire weightlifting team. Others were busy, but we're thankful for those that are able to be here tonight. Proclamation. Whereas the North Bay Haven Girls Weightlifting Buccaneers won their second district championship at Bay High School in January 2023. And whereas the Buccaneers took the 1A District 2 title with a final score of 79 for traditional weightlifting and 92 for Olympic weightlifting, beating out Bay, Bozeman, Holmes County, Vernon, Chipley, Ponce de Leon, Rutherford, and Graceville. And whereas the Buccaneers grew from 2 pupils participating in 2018 after Hurricane Michael to 34 pupils participating currently, and whereas the Buccaneers participated in the snatch, clean and jerk, and bench categories, and whereas the Buccaneers had 18 girls qualify to participate in the regionals in Sewanee, and from there 11 girls qualified to participate at the state championships in mid-February, where 4 of 11 girls placed in the top 6, Grace Masters, Morgan Rapp, Gillian Peden and Tegan Houchins, and 3 girls placed in the top 10, Sydney Freeman, Madeline Kimball, and Anna Carlson. And whereas the Lynn Haven community would like to thank and congratulate the entire North Bay Haven Girls Weightlifting Buccaneers team and their coaches, Erin Paley and Audrey Peden, and assistant Joy Masters. And whereas we are so proud of how hard the Buccaneers have worked this season representing North Bay Haven School and our community, and we look forward to another great year. Now, therefore, by the virtue and authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Lynn Haven, on behalf of the city commission and all the citizens of Lynn Haven, I do hereby recognize the North Bay Haven Girls Weightlifting Buccaneers by proclamation. In witness whereof, I do hereby sit in my hand and cause the seal of the city of Lynn Haven to be affixed this 20th day of February 2023. And also, we have one that will be receiving the Mayor's Athletic Achievement Award. It reads, this certificate is presented to Grace Masters for achieving first place in the girls weightlifting state championship meet in the Olympic category and setting a state record of 260 total pounds lifted in the 110-pound weight class, February 28, 2023. So congratulations.
Great job, ladies.
As I shared with some of the girls, I wish their state championship was in Tallahassee, then I could have made it over, but I did get a chance to see them compete over for districts at Bay High, a chance to see some of them compete, and they did pretty awesome. I mean, these girls are really strong, and so they had an awesome meet over there and were able to go to regional, so very proud of them, especially with their relatively new program. And so we have state champions in all areas. So Lynn Haven has a very good sports program between Mosley and North Bay Haven. Very good sports program, so let's just continue to encourage our students. Mayor's report to be brief this evening. Of course, probably for all of us as commission, one of the biggest things that I've been working through has been the property maintenance, so just making sure that I've been able to comb through it again, work on those fine details, compare it with other cities, looking back at the other changes that other cities have made through the information that Commissioner Work was able to compile for us, and so just continuing to work through that, and also meeting with city manager to make sure we set that on the agenda so that we can have time to discuss that on a regular basis. And of course, we'll talk about that a little bit more later on. But working through that, also just been making sure I've stayed in contact with our state legislatures, especially with session beginning soon, and we asking for $9.1 million in appropriations, which is probably a record for us. Making sure that we can get as much of that money as possible. So just making sure that I've been in good contact with them as well. And with session beginning, of course, committees begin meeting before session. I've also been perusing the Florida League of Cities, different bills that they're alerting us to and awareness that they're bringing to us. So there's been a couple of bills that I've already either opposed or just asked the committees to review those a little more. Of course, city manager sent us one of those bills that she would like for us to review and to speak out against. And there's another bill that is coming up. And of course, I know we can defer to city attorney. He can really give us more updates on that because there's a lot of bills in those summaries. But one of the bills that's coming back up, and I spoke with him about it maybe a week or so ago, was the bill that will allow, I guess, businesses, if we set an ordinance, that businesses would be able to sue the city, for that ordinance. And so we certainly want to look at that. And I think we do a good job of evaluating how our ordinances impact everyone. Certainly when we've, even as it was as simple as, Highway 77, and we saw how we're making those changes, and as different businesses came to us saying how this would impact them or impact the possibility of them having business, we did review that. So I'm not sure what other cities they may be targeting with this bill, but I think right now as a commission over the past couple of years that I've been here, I think we've done a good job of listening to our businesses, getting feedback from them. We've done that several times and even now building good relationship with them through our quarterly industrial lunches and business lunches. So I think that we're doing good with that. That we don't necessarily have to have a state statute to tell us that that's something that we need to do is communicate with our businesses. And this bill is a little bit different because previously they had to be able to prove that you impacted their finances by 15% over the past 3 years, but this bill does not necessarily include that from what I'm reading, unless I've overlooked it, that they just may be able to say, hey, you've impacted my business with this ordinance, and then they can sue us for that. And then if we win the case, then we don't recoup anything. And then, of course, if they win, we may have to pay their attorney's fees up to like $50,000. So I'm not a fan of that bill per se, but it's still in committees right now. And, of course, the legal cities will alert us when those different bills come up. So there are several bills that they're encouraging us to monitor. So I would just encourage all of us, when you have the moment, just check your emails or go to the Florida Legal Cities website, look through those bills. And there may be one that you want to champion. I'm not saying we all got to champion the same one. There may be one that impacts, our city as we're referring to home rule. That's what Florida Legal Cities is really helping us fight and lobby for home rule. And so I am planning a time to go over to Tallahassee once session goes in. I've been talking with State Representative Griffiths about that, setting up a time for me to go over and speak to those various committees about our appropriations and how we do need that funding. And just how much it impacts our citizens if we don't receive that funding. And so I do thank the city manager and her staff for really getting me up to speed on the details of all the projects. Like we can have a big bird's eye view, but a couple of times I've been able to sit down with them and they really take me into the details of it so that I can really understand how this impacts our project. Like the regional stormwater, that's one of the things that we're asking for appropriations on. And so I was able to sit down with staff and get real details on that and the impact that that's going to have as we're trying to build that out, that it's not just, impacting a neighborhood, it's impacting neighborhoods and how many homes and lives that's having an effect on if we're able to get that. And if they don't give us that, what detriment that could cause to our city, especially as we're talking about stormwater and flooding in our area. And so that's what I've been working on, is just continue to try to work on those relationships and advocate for us, not just here locally, but on the state level as well. So that is in addition to just getting citizen feedback and responding to emails. And there's one that we're still working on, and that's an easement issue that we're having with AT&T. Staff, city manager, myself are still trying to get that issue resolved. And so we're, in communication with that citizen, but just received an email from her just saying that still has not been resolved. So I'm going to communicate that with you, follow back up to communicate that with her as well. But that's something that has been ongoing for that neighborhood as well. So some of those issues and other issues that we're dealing with. So that's my report for this evening. Commissioner Aldridge.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have much either. I hope everybody's having a great week. The weather has been beautiful. Please try to get out and enjoy the weather and some of the beautiful parks that Lynn Haven has worked so hard on the last few years to get going. It's a constant reminder that no matter how crazy the world is, no matter how bad the news is, the sun still comes up every day. So try to get out and enjoy yourselves. And that's my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. Commissioner Perno.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a report that contains the fact that I attended 2 meetings since our last commission meeting, and the first meeting was held Thursday, February 16th at the Bay County Transit, and I'm proud to say I'm a member of the Governance Transit Committee. Okay, and so formerly the TPO subcommittee is now the Governance Transit Committee. The goal is to take our Bay County Transit and make it into a transit authority. The Bay County Transit is funded through the Bay County Commissioners and the DOT, so the federal funding goes other places before it goes there. As a transit authority, the FTA would be able to fund directly to the Bay County Transit Authority, which would give it more clout as a fundraising organization and help the transit in our area. The future for transit is exponential when you look at the fact that one day we could have water taxis, and we could have trolleys, or not monorails, or the future's bright as far as all that goes. But it's all in the notes and so forth. And what I'll do is I'll add to my report and as part of the minutes. And the next meeting I attended was February 22nd. The St. Andrews Bay, St. Joe Bay Estuary Program. I've got the guys to highlight that. And this is just basically, I just want to go through it real quick as far as the roles and responsibilities of the Estuary Program. I've talked about it before, but I wanted to put the data out there from this meeting. And if you guys could just slowly scroll through, I'm at the part where it says, I'm at like the 4th or 5th page where it starts to have the, go ahead, that lists the board members. Go ahead to the next page, please. And one more page. And probably one more after that. There you go. Well, it lists the goals of the estuary program, and each category has its own goals. It breaks down each goal into action items, and you could go ahead and scroll through at a rapid pace now, and just go through. And it takes everything down to the nuts and bolts of where they're going to create action items and be functional as an estuary program to help the future of our waterways. The comprehensive conservation management, protecting our seagrass. There's a lot to it, and if we don't stay on top of the waterways and development gets ahead of waterways, well, we won't have waterways that people want to come down and visit, that's for sure. So I think the timing's really good, and this is another program that's funded for now through the Horizon, through Triumph, and the funding will run out mid 24. So they're going to be going public real soon, and they're going to try to create funding of their own and so forth, and try to get to be established as a national estuary program where they'll get federal funding as well. So at the very end, you guys can go through to the handouts. The first handout is about protecting our seagrass, and there was a very good speakers about what we're doing in our area, especially St. Joe Bay, to protect the seagrass and the scallops. And then the second handout is the first public input workshop is coming up March the 6th for the Bay County area. So they basically, it says, we want to hear from you. The estuary program is working to create a blueprint for collaborative action over the next 10 years. Come to the Destination Panama City Visitor Center and see the actions that have risen to the top of the list, and share your thoughts and ideas with the estuary staff. So that's my full report on those two meetings and committees that I'm on. And I'd like to thank everybody who's here, and all of our employees and all of our first responders.
All right, thank you. City Manager, is it possible that the handouts that Commissioner Perno has, that we could maybe post those on our Facebook page? Yes, that way the community can know about about the upcoming workshop as well?
Sure.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Perno. Commissioner Ward?
I don't have a whole lot. I had about 11 people show up to my time with the commissioner, and had a couple new faces there, which is always good to have. And of course, the big thing we talked about was the International Property Maintenance Code. So I know we're going to talk about it later, so I won't go too much into detail, but just want residents to know that, we're not taking it in its entirety the way it is. We're going to be making amendments to it. So if there's something in there you just don't like and you think it needs to be changed, make sure you give us that feedback. I know on my Facebook page, as I go through the chapter, I've been posting on there what my recommendations are going to be, so you can always look on there. And the last thing I have is, we know this is election season, so the city's not putting this on, but there's going to be a candidate forum this Thursday at 6. And I'll be right here in the Senior Activity Center, so if you want to be able to meet the candidates that are running, listen to what they have to say. I highly recommend you make it out. And I believe it's going to be on Facebook Live, so you can always watch it on there. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Vandegrift?
Well, I had the pleasure of attending the wax representation that was here for...
That was awesome.
It was. I told the city manager, I said, I'm just like a kid. I wanted to touch them because they look so real. And then the art exhibit from the kids was adorable. I'm sorry that y'all missed it. They just took it down, and the kids were so excited to be here and get recognition for their hard work. I also spent a couple of hours with the planning department and the building this week, and because I have lots of questions about the code and the comprehensive plan, and I just want to compliment them. First of all, I want to compliment because they were very patient with me. And second of all, I want to compliment them because they are so competent and knowledgeable. And so I just wanted to say thanks for putting up with me. So.
All right, thank you. And I agree, it was a great exhibit, the Black Wax Museum. Of course, Ricky still had his artwork in here, which was really nice to come through and look at. Sorry, y'all missed the Black Panther. They had free popcorn out there, free kettle popcorn. That was pretty good. So enjoyed the Black Panther night out. Had a few technical difficulties, but again, I still enjoyed the free popcorn. So that was free kettle corn. You can't come by that easily. So my kids and I, we enjoyed the free kettle popcorn. City Manager?
Yes, we'll do the warrant list first, if you have any questions for Kiki. Okay. Just a couple of things that I want to remind you. And we had a very successful tree giveaway this past week. Didn't have any trees left. Of course, our goal this year is to give away at least 1,000 trees. And so that is just to replenish what has been lost by Hurricane Michael. It's very important that we do that. I want to thank Ty Ferris and his group for taking that on. On March 9th, you'll get something new that you'll be able to download. It's called My Lynn Haven 311, and it will be an app that you can have all of the pertinent information about City of Lynn Haven. So you may not have to go on a website. You'll just have an app, and it'll have things about government. You can even do a public records request on there. You can pay your utility bills on there. There are lots of things that you'll be able to do. You'll be able to report. Say, for instance, if you see a pothole, take a picture of that pothole, send it in to Public Works. We're just trying to find other ways to communicate with our residents and make sure that our residents are well informed. So that'll be coming on March 9th, and you'll hear more about that. March 4th, please don't forget, this is our grand opening and reopening of the sports complex. Many of you remember how the sports complex looked after Hurricane Michael, and we have come a long ways. Almost 5 years later, we have rebuilt the entire sports complex. We have a total of 585 youth that have signed up. That's the most we've had since Hurricane Michael, and so we'll be working there the rest of this week. I was out there today, last night, and Justin Ward and his staff are working hard, as well as all the others, to have a really good day. We'll take that time to rededicate some of those fields that were already named before Hurricane Michael, recognize those folks and some other things. So we invite you to come out on Saturday. 9 o'clock is when the ceremony begins, and then 10 o'clock we'll kick off all of the baseball and softball activities. We also have some things for some of those siblings who are not playing. They can come out and have some of the activities available there. The bounce house and kettle corn will be there again, and so a couple of things that will be going on there. Yeah, I knew you like that. One of the things too is that Rails to Trails is now happening, and it is going to be absolutely wonderful when we finish it. It's still on construction, but there is a danger to going into a construction area, and so we're asking that residents not take their four-wheelers or take a nice little walk there or anything, golf carts. None of that really is allowed right now until we can finish up the construction. It's going to be great, and we have some pretty neat things that we're going to plan for grand opening that I think every resident is going to enjoy alike. Also, if you will notice that our marquee is now working. I want to give kudos to IT. They saved us $40,000. They figured out what was really wrong. There were some things, it hadn't worked really well since Hurricane Michael. Samuel and his group went in, did some rewiring, found out where the problems were, and now the marquee works. So I want to give kudos to them as well. The fire station doors have finally landed. For those of you, I know the bay doors have been out for a while. They are here and they're going to be installed, and we're going to have that finished up very, very soon. And then we're going to put out some information. I know hurricane season is a little bit away, but we are going to be putting out some information on how to prepare for it and some things we can do ahead of time. As you know, during this time, we normally will go on and start to put out sandbags and sand so that you'll have it, so if some storm comes along, you don't have to wait until that particular time to go out there and get sandbags. They'll be there. And then last thing, I know we've been talking a lot about policy, about the ULDC, about the comprehensive plan. Amanda and I are getting together to try to come with a plan for the commissioners so that you can go through the ULDC and the comprehensive plan. And that will be something we'll probably parse out or do in pieces as well for this commission. And then once we've kind of gotten to that point where we can, put it in pieces, we will invite Dr. Chapin back from FSU to kind of give you some guidelines of what is needed, what is not needed, what needs to be updated, and when it needs to be updated. So you'll be looking for that. I'll be working with Amanda along with the mayor and making sure that we update our codes and policies. And so this will be something that the commission will have and will be intimately involved with. And I just wanted to give you a heads up that you'll be seeing some things that will come your way. And that's my report.
Thank you. City Attorney.
Sure, just a few things. We did close today on the Iowa Avenue parcel, so that's now owned by the city, which will help with the Kane Griffin parking. I know Amanda will probably be coming back with a rezoning change, but it's ours, so we can start working on that. You did mention that some legislation going on, that Senate Bill 620 for business damages. Currently you have statutes in place where if you rezone somebody or change a land use, they have it's a taking and they're entitled to damages. This takes it a step further. So if it's not a taking and we pass an ordinance that the business can prove they lose 15% of their business, they'll be able to seek business damages. So that's in committee now. I know they tried it last year and it didn't get out, but that's certainly something to keep an eye on and monitor, because it would definitely expand potential liability to the city for passing an ordinance that they think is fair. There's qualifications. It's got to be a business that's been around for 3 years. They've obviously got to prove the damages and try to negotiate in advance. So it wouldn't be the end of the world, but it certainly would be a big expansion on what rights are right now. And then just one more time on public commentary. I know we've talked about this before. Under the law, the only thing required for public commentary is on propositions that are going to be voted on by the commission. So we allow additional public commentary as a privilege and not a right. And in any sort of public commentary that goes on, obviously the chairman of the board, the mayor, has the ability to maintain decorum. So I just wanted to be clear, we're not violating anybody's rights. We don't have to allow general public commentary. You only have to allow it on voting items. I don't want to see us turn into Palm Beach County or Broward County or something like that and enact really strict rules. Hopefully we can maintain decorum and keep general public commentary, but I just wanted to get that out there. That was all.
All right. Thank you. Are there any questions for the city attorney while he's here?
One about what you just talked about, the legislation on business damages. Now, if that passes, our hands are tied. There's no
Well, it would just
cities or anything like that.
No, it's not dependent on the size of the city. It would just be a new law, and and I can't even imagine what the ordinance would be. Because it's not really, with zoning and land use, that's already covered by the Burt Harris Act and other statutes. So it'd be, just pick some ordinance that causes a business to lose 15% of its revenue, and that business would come forward and say, hey, I've been here for 3 years. My accountant is going to show me what the effect is going to be, and then they would have to do like a pre-suit negotiation. There'd be a whole process in place, but yeah, it would be a law that would apply to every city and county in the state.
Is it possible, along with what Commissioner Perno is saying, say for example that's passed, and then we pass the property maintenance code, and then the property maintenance code causes someone to have to, maintain their business in a way which causes them to lose revenue or lose profit within that? Would that be something that we would be?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a case by case thing. I mean, I can't imagine, saying do you have to maintain your property is going to cause you to lose 15% of your revenue, but I guess that scenario is out there for that particular business. I wouldn't think it would be just general maintenance. I think that'd be sort of an uphill battle for somebody to come back and say, maintaining my buildings is going to cause me to lose 15% of my revenue. But yeah, it'd apply to any ordinance unless the ordinance is required by the state. They come and say, look, you've got to do this or that, then those are exempt. But otherwise, it would apply to any ordinance that the city comes up with.
Okay. All right. Any additional questions for the city attorney? All right. Thank you. This time we have our consent agenda. Anyone have any concerns about the meeting minutes from 2/14/23?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Perno. City manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes, motion passed. Old business public hearing for the final reading of ordinance 1147, future land use map amendment, parcel number 10057-0010-000 Illinois Avenue, mixed use to public institutional. Public hearing opens at 6:12 p.m. City manager, if you would read this by title only, please.
Ordinance number 1147, an ordinance providing for the adoption pursuant to Chapter 163, Florida statutes of a land use change from mixed use to public institutional for an approximate 0.688 plus or minus acres of property located on the corner of Illinois and East 13th Street in the city of Lynn Haven, Bay County, Florida, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith and providing effective date.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is ordinance 1147, future land use map amendment, and it is the final reading public hearing. The owner of this property is the city of Lynn Haven, who recently purchased it. Parcel number 10057-010-000. It is located on Illinois Avenue, and the parcel size is approximately 0.688 acres. The existing future land use map category on this parcel is low density residential, and the requested future land use category is public institutional. The adjacent future land use map designations are to the north, low density residential, south, mixed use, east, mixed use, and to the west is public institutional. This is an aerial map that shows you the location. So it's on the corner of Illinois Avenue and East 13th Street. Across the road, across Illinois Avenue, is the Public Works Department. This shows you the current future land use. You can see if this works. This is the parcel here. So it's currently mixed use. This is the city's property that is public institutional. So currently you can see it's surrounded here by mixed use, but over here is public institutional. If you approve the land use map amendment, then this is what it will look like. So we'll have the public institutional on the corner across from the existing public institutional for the Public Works Department. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Ms. Amanda?
I have a couple questions. This was presented to the Planning Committee,
Yes, ma'am, it was. Yes.
and citizens were free to attend that meeting,
Yes, ma'am.
and citizens were free to voice their opinions.
Yes.
All right, thank
Just
you.
wanted to make sure. I've heard comments that, the citizens aren't able to voice their opinion. So, and I just wanted to double check that that's not an issue concerning this particular ordinance.
Not at all, no. The public are very welcome to come to the Planning Commission meetings. We don't have very many people attend, but they're open meetings, and anybody who wants to comment on any agenda item during those meetings can comment.
Thank you.
All right, are there any public comments on this particular agenda item? Yes, sir.
So I'm not breaking any rule of order or anything like that. Yeah, my name is Ted Mahoney. I live in an adjacent property, this kitty corner to that, 705 East 12th Street. And the question I had is, I'm not sure how the city plans to utilize that, which requires the change in designation. That was one question that we had. The second question that I have, very real concern having to do with any potential environmental impact. That parcel abuts a drainage feature that goes into Davis Lake. Yep, thank you. It goes into Davis Lake. It's spring-fed, and it goes right down north. It goes right by our property and whatnot. Back in 2000, I forget what year, it doesn't matter. Anyways, we had a massive, massive rainstorm. So we're very sensitive to how any change in adjacent properties, particularly if it's going to be paved at some point, or something like that, we don't know how it's going to be used. I assume you folks do. But if it's going to have any drainage impact, that's going to be a big problem. With the 390 project, I'll just wrap it up by saying with the 390 project, we've had a pipe go down 13th Street to provide drainage from one of the drainage pits or retention ponds. So there's more and more, and that's going to continue as 390 gets, that drainage feature is going to be used more and more. So that's the question I had for you folks, is will there be any adverse environmental impact if this land use change, the designation is changed? Thanks very much.
City Manager, if you'd like to address that, please.
Sure. That particular property that we have we were actually parking on the land of someone else's, and that came into up for us for sale, and we bought it. So it's really going to be used for that parking space over there. We're not going to try to go in and pave that. That would require a lot of stormwater proper planning on that side. And so really it was just to acquire additional parking for the staff there. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional public comments regarding this?
You mind if I say something?
Yeah.
And if we did build anything, we would have to abide by the 100-year storm water requirements, right?
Yes.
Okay.
If we wanted to construct anything on that property, it would have to go through the development order procedure just like everybody else. So, yeah.
Yes. And just so everyone know, even with our rebuild, all of our rebuilds went through the development order just like everyone else did.
Okay.
Amanda, weren't we playing around with the idea of putting up a city-owned steel factory that's really loud there?
Yeah, multiple stories, 200 feet high.
200 feet, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Give someone a heart attack.
That was a joke, for the
Any
record.
additional discussion or questions from the commission for Ms. Amanda? All right, is there a motion for this?
Motion to approve.
Well, it's first reading, isn't it?
Second.
Oh, final reading, I'm sorry, I can't read.
You gonna second it or not?
Second, anybody?
You gonna second it?
Second, yes.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Perno,
Stay with us.
second by Commissioner Aldridge. City Manager, if you'll call the vote.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Aldred?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Public hearing closes at 6:19 p.m. All right, agenda item number 10, and this again is a discussion to review the International Property Maintenance Code. We did have, I think, a good discussion on Friday in regards to Chapter 1, and so I think we were able to get some good input from all of us. You know, we had some primary input from Commissioner Ward, and so I think we had some good input and some good updates on that. So primarily, we went through and adapted the wording of the codes to fit what we're doing here in the city of Lynn Haven. And so instead of saying we're going to apply the international building code, we're going to apply the codes that we use here in the city of Lynn Haven, which have already been adopted, like the Florida building codes. And so we're going to do that throughout the document is what we agreed on, is that where it's applicable to change an international building code or international code to fit what we've already adopted here and what we're already following, that we would do that throughout the entire document. And there was some other verbiage that we looked at directly. I did receive some feedback from a citizen. I think all of us got that email just thanking us for doing that and agreeing with the changes that we had made and updated. Have you received any additional feedback in regards to Chapter 1 and what we discussed on Friday? All right, so let's all prepare our next upcoming pre-commission meeting. We'll be working on Chapter 2, which is, and really we can do probably Chapter 2 and maybe look a little bit at Chapter 3. But let's look at Chapter 2 because we don't want to overlook any slight detail that may need to be, changed or adapted. And please just ask our citizens that if you see something, it's made available online, so you can go and scroll through that. If you see something, please alert us to that so that we can discuss that at our next pre-commission meeting. At one time I had discussed with the city manager when we were coming up with this idea about possibly each one of us maybe being assigned a chapter and sort of working through that. So that was one idea. However, I think it's good for all of us to sort of have an overview and an overlook of it, because what may be pressing to me, as I mentioned to you all before about, the vehicle being in the yard that doesn't run, that may be a pressing issue for me, but it may not be something for someone else. And so I think all of us, should look at that. And if you're able to provide documentation or what you would like to see updated or changed, just please type that up. It's possible that we might get it all compiled and look at it, or we can just bring it to the table and discuss it like we did the last time. So just ask that, as we're taking this, that we take our time to be diligent about going through it and making those changes. And really, I think it puts us in preparation for what city manager will be presenting to us with the ULDC and comprehensive plan as well, that we'll be doing that same procedure, working through those different sections and looking at it in detail. So yeah, I think that's important for us to do that. Any other discussion or questions about this?
And just want to point out what you already talked about, where every pre-commission meeting we'll be discussing this, and then we'll be, summarize what we found here. And then the final vote won't be until sometime in June is what we're projecting. So the residents know that we're not voting on this like really soon, but it will be coming before you know it. So you got feedback, just let us know.
All right. Yeah, just one thing. Chapter 1 did have the right to entry language in there, and I know we discussed that Friday, but just so everybody who didn't hear that, we already have it in our code anyway. You do need something in there giving the city the right to enter. That does not mean we can just go into anybody's house at any time. You still either need voluntary consent, or you'd have to go and get probable cause and get a warrant and show a judge, why we go in there. So I know we talked about that a little bit, but just so everybody knows, I know that's a hot topic. When they see the title, right to entry, it does not mean we get to just go into anybody's house at any point in time. So.
Yeah, and I think we adapted that so that it would make reference back to the code that we already have in the city of Lynn Haven, so that they can say, okay, the right of entry is reflecting back to what we've already adopted, of what we already have in our city. So thanks for bringing that point up. I know that was a very hot button issue that we did have. So thank you for that. All right, agenda item number 11, discussion and possible approval to award bid number 22/23-04 for well number 6, rehabilitation to the lowest qualified bidder, road drilling, in the amount of $114,050. Public utilities.
Good evening. We routinely monitor our well systems to make sure they are robust enough to provide the drinking water for our city. This serves the central part of the city. The eastern, southern side of the city, we purchase water from Bay County. So it's important that we keep these wells in peak operating condition.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Kidwell?
Yeah, so I should have asked this at the pre-commission meeting, but has the add-on option for 28,500, what is that?
Okay, so this is a 600-foot deep well. There's going to be some conditions that we don't know what they are until we pull everything out, send the motor off to get rebuilt, and send a camera down there to inspect the well. There could be some damage to the shaft. Imagine a stainless steel shaft going down that deep. So a lot of unknowns in this project.
And that's what that 28.5 is for?
That's what that's for.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any additional questions for Public Utilities?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Aldridge, second by Commissioner Perno. Any discussion from the public? All right, City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Meeting adjourned.